The observation deck of the Stellar Harmony hummed with the quiet efficiency of a working starship. Rosie stood before the transparent aluminum viewport, her calloused fingers tracing the edge of a small photograph she'd pulled from her jacket pocket. The image was worn at the corners, faded from years of handling. A simple picture of two children standing before a burning cityscape, their faces smudged with ash but their eyes bright with defiance. Human Rosie. The chittering voice came from knee-height. She looked down to find 3 Krefthar cubs staring up at her with their 6 luminous eyes. The species was apex predators on their homeworld, evolved hunters with retractable claws and speed that could outpace a ground vehicle. Yet here in the nursery section of the ship they looked almost endearing in their curiosity. Yes, little ones, Rosie knelt, bringing herself to their level. The eldest cub, its violet carapace already showing the patterns of adulthood, tilted its head. Why do humans keep pictures? We saw you looking at that. Preserved image. Our elder mind says your species carries these fragments everywhere. Rosie smiled, that particularly human expression that showed teeth, something that still unnerved most species in the Galactic Coalition. That's a good question. Would you like me to explain? The cubs chirped their agreement, settling onto their haunches in that way young predators do when a story beckons. This picture, Rosie held it up so the light caught it properly, is from the siege of New Brasilia. I was 7 years old. That's me on the left. You survived a siege at 7 rotations? The smallest cub's voice carried a note of disbelief. Humans mature slowly, Rosie acknowledged. But we remember quickly, and we remember everything. The door to the observation deck slid open and Otis walked in, carrying a datapad and a steaming cup of something that smelled aggressively of caffeine. His engineering uniform was stained with hydraulic fluid, and his dark hair stuck up at odd angles. When he saw Rosie with the cubs, his scarred face softened. Story time again? He asked, settling onto the deck beside them. They asked about the pictures, Rosie replied. Otis pulled his own collection from his pocket, a handful of photographs held together with a rubber band, each one a window into moments of desperate survival. He selected one and held it up. A teenage boy standing in the ruins of a space station, holding a wrench like a weapon, surrounded by the twisted metal of a Vexthor invasion. This was the Tycho Station massacre, he said quietly. I was 16. 300 colonists went into the shelters. 41 came out. I kept the air processors running for 72 hours straight, while the Vexthor tore through the outer rings. The cubs' eyes widened, all 18 of them focused with predatory intensity. Your species keeps memories of trauma? The eldest cub asked. The elder mind teaches us to forget pain, to let it pass like water through claws. Why would you preserve suffering? Rosie and Otis exchanged a glance, that wordless communication that happens between people who've walked through fire together. Because, Rosie said, her voice taking on the tone of someone explaining a fundamental truth of the universe. We don't just remember the pain. We remember that we survived it. Every picture is proof. She laid out her collection on the deck, a dozen photographs, each one a testament to human resilience. A woman standing in front of a crashed colony ship, a group of miners who'd survived 3 weeks in a collapsed tunnel, children playing in the ruins of a bombed-out school, a medical team working through a plague outbreak without protective gear because none was left. Humans are soft, Otis added, spreading his own pictures alongside Rosie's. We don't have your natural armor, your speed, your claws. We break easily. We die from things that wouldn't even slow down most galactic species. Then why do you survive? The smallest cub asked, reaching out to gently touch one of the photographs with a retracted claw. How? Because we remember, Rosie said simply. Every picture tells us you made it through worse. Every face in these images is someone who refused to quit, when quitting would have been easier. We carry these memories not as wounds, but as weapons. Otis picked up a photograph of a young girl, no more than 5 years old, sitting in a hospital bed, her head wrapped in bandages, flashing a gap-toothed smile at the camera. This is my sister. She survived a hull breach that killed everyone else in her section. She was in zero gravity for 11 minutes before rescue arrived. 11 minutes. Do you know what that does to a human child? The cubs shook their heads, silent now. It should have killed her. The cold alone, the pressure differential, the oxygen deprivation, any one of those things should have been fatal. But she lived. And every time I look at this picture, every time I think I can't fix one more broken system or survive one more crisis, I remember she made it through 11 minutes of space. I can make it through whatever today brings. Rosie tapped her original photograph. These pictures aren't about the past. They're about the future. They're promises we make to ourselves. No matter what comes, we've survived worse. The eldest cub was quiet for a long moment, processing. Then, the elder mind teaches that predators must be fearless. Predators are fearless because they're built to kill. Rosie corrected gently. Humans are full of fear. We're afraid almost all the time. But we keep moving forward anyway. That's not fearlessness. That's courage. And courage requires memory. Otis gathered his photographs, wrapping them carefully. Every species in the coalition is stronger than us, faster than us, better adapted for survival. But you know what? We're the ones who colonized the dead zones. We're the ones who held the line at the frontier worlds when the hive came. We're the ones who jury-rig solutions from wreckage and sing songs in the dark. Because you remember, the middle cub said slowly, understanding dawning in its multiple eyes. Because we remember, Rosie confirmed. We remember every scar, every loss, every impossible situation we clawed our way out of. And those memories don't weaken us, they forge us. Every human carries an arsenal of survival in their pocket. Proof that we're the descendants of survivors, the children of those who refused to die. The cubs sat in contemplative silence, a rare thing for young predators. Finally, the eldest spoke. When I grow my first claws, I will begin keeping pictures too. Is this acceptable? Rosie's smile was genuine, warm in a way that transformed her scarred face. That's more than acceptable. That's an honor. As the cubs departed, chittering excitedly about starting their own collections, Otis leaned against the viewport beside Rosie. Think they understood? Rosie looked down at her photograph, at the two children who'd survived impossible odds to become the engineers, soldiers, diplomats, and dreamers that kept humanity pushing forward into an often hostile galaxy. They understood enough, she said. They understood that humans don't just survive. We remember, and that memory, that refusal to forget what we've overcome, that's what makes us dangerous. Otis raised his coffee in a mock toast. To memory, then, and to all the pictures we'll keep collecting. To survival, Rosie agreed, slipping her photograph back into her pocket, right over her heart where it belonged, and to making sure there are always more stories to photograph tomorrow. In the cold vastness of space, aboard a ship full of species that had evolved as perfect killers, two soft, fragile humans stood guard over the future, armed with nothing but their memories and the unshakable certainty that they would survive whatever came next. Because they always had, and they had pictures to prove it.